Welcome everyone back to Coin Bureau Clips. It's been a few weeks since we did one of these Q&As.
Yeah. Just before you went to the UK, and then me and Jessica did a bit of a switch in between, and it's the last Q&A of 2023. You know,
wow,
what a crazy year!
Yeah.
We made it.
It felt at times like we might not, didn't it?
Yeah, no. I mean,
was tough.
I mean, wow. But here we are, and it looks like the green shoots are starting to be planted for 2024. So. Excited to get it going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see 2023 off in style then. So we're back for another Q&A. Obviously, me and Nick, our CEO here. Thanks as ever to those who sent questions in on Instagram. Do you want to ask the first one?
Yeah, I can start. So this is from Good Lager Haida. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly, but it's very hard sometimes because you don't know if the surname is.
Yeah, some of them are tricky.
But he or she is asking, what are your top 5 websites to help you analyze?
Okay, so we're talking more kind of analysis rather than news.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I always start with CoinGecko and CMC.
Yeah.
I actually prefer CoinGecko. I don't know why. I noticed they've also recently sort of added a bit more to the home screen.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more information like CMC. But yeah, I mean, either are good. So I usually start there. That always provides some, you obviously have the price data, but you usually have some pretty good links.
And the portfolio tracking section, right?
Yeah.
Ever since Blockfolio, which came FTX, which eventually folded, now it's got a good portfolio tracking system in CMC and CoinGecko, right?
Yeah. So there's that, and there's usually good links to projects, Twitter and other sort of socials, mediums, discords, etc. So that's always a good place to start. Then Masari is another one that I think is great.
Yeah.
They have, I think it's worth having a Masari subscription.
Yeah.
Because you do definitely get that extra info. And they have, they've got tons of stuff, haven't they?
Yeah,
exactly. All the sort of stuff you need, especially regarding wallets and vesting and things like that.
And then also sometimes they've got interesting reports and analysis, deep dives on altcoin ecosystems as well. So
Yeah, they're good. They're sort of state of X, Y, and Z reads are always a good place to go for when you're researching a particular project. Token unlocks is one that we've started using a lot recently, isn't it?
Yeah, and I met the team in Singapore. It's a really interesting platform, data analytics. They specialize in vesting schedules, so they take a deep dive in projects' vesting schedules and emission schedules, which is important from the perspective of when you've been talking about especially if a coin has been backed by VCs, right? And early investors, you want to know when the big unlocks are coming, and they take a very analytical and data-centric approach to this. So it's very important.
Yeah. And talking of data, Nansen is a good one as well. I chatted with Alex Fanovic, who's their CEO in Singapore as well. Really good guy, and Nansen is a great product as well. They've got some brilliance.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of you can really dive into. There's so much data on there. I think some of it, you do sort of wonder.
It's like
this is real.
This is too much. You need
stuff,
some real nerd like DeFi Deegan.
Yeah.
Degen stuff.
Yeah, but again, it's a great place to go, and if you really want to sort of dive in. So Nansen's a good one. So we got Nansen, Token Unlocks, Masari, CoinGecko and CMC. I do need to give a shout out to coinbureau.com.
Oh, coinbureau.com. I've heard about this website.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I've seen it on a few Google searches.
It comes up occasionally. So coinbureau.com, our website rather than our YouTube channel. There's great info there, a lot of project deep dives, a lot of if you're looking for a good wallet or things like that.
Beginners guides, top lists, run by our editor-in-chief, Mr. Taylor McCracken.
Taylor McCracken. Him and Richard Gere have never been seen in the same room together either. Really good guy. One of our team of elite Canadians.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to give a couple of shout outs to some other websites as well. I find things like crypto fees really useful, so you can see what sort of revenue particular sites are generating. June is very good. Again, kind of analytics and things like that.
Peek into guys.
Into my favourites bar.
Favourites,
yeah.
It's been cleaned. Has it been cleaned?
The absolute filth that's in there. Money printer is another good one as well. I haven't looked at that in a while, but how much money are protocols paying to grow? That's a really interesting one. Avalanche has shot up there.
Well, I see you also got L2 That was one I was also going to suggest. I think it's great, especially as we start rolling into 2024 with the L2 narratives, Ethereum L2 narratives. It's an interesting analytics website to look at, where some of the L2s are competing in terms of TVL fees and things like that. So,
yeah, and that's only going to become more relevant with the Denkun upgrade next month. There's also look into Bitcoin is really useful as well. And I think look into Bitcoin is one of these ones that you can subscribe to and stuff, but there's loads of really good free stuff.
Free stuff is there.
And that's obviously, mostly Bitcoin focused, as the name would suggest, but that's a really useful website as well. That's great for, to give an overview of Bitcoin and the market in general.
Yeah, another one I could recommend is Token Terminal. I've actually spoken to one of the team. We actually mentioned it as well as one of the top tools. We have actually a video on this, top 10 tools for crypto, which includes a lot of these things. But Token Terminal essentially is like similarly data analytics, but they basically try to take a look at protocols from the perspective of financial analysis. So they try to compare it with things like view it as an income statement, for instance, and try to bring an analogy between like financial statements in companies to protocols. So it's an interesting way to think about fundamental value of cryptocurrencies by looking at it as compared to a standard financial statement. So, and they've got obviously a premium version, but the free version has got a lot of good alpha there as well. So definitely worth taking a look into that as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of this info is out there for free.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly.
I should say, like some of these ones, like as I say, there are subscriptions that you can buy, and some of them are really good and really worth the money. And obviously, they do keep good info behind paywalls. But there is like just tons of free stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next question. Juris Enviter. I think they've asked. He or
she asked a lot of questions. Yeah, love it.
Well, it's good. Yeah. It's good. So the latest one is: since Nick likes Neon EVM, do you know what is the vesting schedule due to just 5% circulating supply?
Interesting. Okay. Speaking about vesting schedules. So firstly, a bit of background. If you follow the Coin Bureau Club, you'll see that I basically allocated a little bit of my portfolio to Neon, which is the token of Neon EVM. TLDR, it's a parallelized EVM building on Solana that basically allows for Ethereum developers to deploy their dApps in a highly performant manner using parallel computing on the Solana blockchain. So it's got part of the parallelized EVM narrative as well as the Solana narrative, right? So I mentioned it, put it in my watch list, and allocated a little bit of my portfolio to it about a week ago. And since that time, it's up over 100%. So
you've reminded us.
I've reminded everyone.
On several occasions, Nick has been posting in the group, going like,
I'm just going like, it's going well. I mean, it's better than my Pith one.
Bravo.
Yeah, but yeah, so I am very bullish on the project. I think it's very exciting. I think that it's already got one tier 1 exchange listing, but it could potentially have another in the pipes. I don't know. It seems likely. So that obviously will give rocket fuel to it. But more to the question around this 5% circulating supply. So obviously it is a good question. 5% out is a very small amount. And if it was backed by a lot of VCs, which it was, and early backers, you worried about when that actually does hit those token unlocks and the vesting cliffs. So in terms of Neon itself, the TGE was about in June or July, which implies that and they have a 1-year cliff, which will have basically the vesting will start within 1 year from the TGE, right? Okay. So this 1-year vesting cliff will happen June, July next year. Right. And then there will be most of the early backers and most of the early investors have a 1-year vest, which means that it will vest most of the time it's linearly over the year, right? Okay. So yes, you're going to face a cliff with a lot of tokens being unlocked in June of next year. So then, I don't know if I'll necessarily be holding at that time. I'll obviously want to keep an eye on where the price is, where the project is doing at that time, what the ecosystem is like. But it is a time to watch. And I think that is why something like a token unlocks which we just mentioned. And also, we actually have a discount on their premium service for Coinbureau Club subscribers. So if you're a subscriber, you'll see on the exclusive deals, we have a small discount. We have a discount for the Token Unlocks premium membership. Obviously, keep note and put down and diarize all of these important vesting dates.
Yeah. Vesting is such an important thing to keep an eye on with any.
No one wants to be anyone's exit liquidity.
Exactly. Especially, no one wants to be like early VCs and early backers exit liquidity.
Exactly.
Because that's the game that they're in. So you can be pretty much guaranteed that unless the price is absolutely in the bin, when the vesting happens, that there will be selling, like there will be profits, because that's.
But projects are mindful of it. They are worried potentially about VCs doing it. I will also note that Neon, one of the backers, which is the Solana VC arm, they didn't have a 1-year cliff. They had a 4-year cliff. So essentially, it's going to be 4 years until any of that token comes out. And then it will just be one massive vest. There's not going to be extended vest.
Yeah.
But I think, projects are mindful of it. They don't want people or early backers necessarily dumping, right? Yeah. Because that will just destroy the price. I mean, there's been many examples like this. But it's still something to keep an eye on all the time, because at the end of the day, this is the reason that a lot of these early VCs and early backers invested, is to be able to make a return on their investment when a liquidity event happens.
Yeah. And it's sometimes the case as well when you do hit a vesting cliff. Like you usually see a dip, but quite often it recovers. And I think that's one of the reasons is that the crypto market, crypto investors are very good at sort of pricing these things in. Again, because there's so much information out there. Crypto is so forward looking. I think a lot more so than many other markets, partly because there is all this information available if you bother to look.
Exactly. And some of them may not necessarily all dump at the same time. Some of them may actually want to hold it because they see a lot of potential in it. And then remember, there's still the vest out, right? So they're not going to necessarily dump all on the cliff if there's still going to be a vest out where they don't want to completely destroy the price in the initial cliff.
Not all VCs and early investors are vampires.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. Some.
Only 5%.
Sorry to interrupt you folks, but I have to let you know about the Coinbureau deals page. Now, my team and I have been able to pull together some of the best promos and discounts in the crypto space. We're talking trading fee discounts of over 50%, thousands of dollars in bonus airdrops, amazing deals at top exchanges, reduced prices on hardware wallets, and much, much more besides. So just go to coinbureau.com/deals, also linked to below, and find the promo suited to you. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Anna Lovrick, 55, asks, can ETH reach $4,000 in 2024?
Ooh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think it can. Definitely. I think one of the things, the big thing to look out for is, again, in January, which is the Denkun upgrade. Is this proto-dank sharding?
Proto-dank sharding, EIP 4844.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, that is going to make Ethereum's layer 2s faster, even faster than a lot of them already are.
Cheaper fees,
and cheaper. So that is going to be a net good for the Ethereum ecosystem, and I think ETH as well. Now, there has been some speculation on this. We talked about this in our Ethereum update, didn't we? The fact that this is perhaps a bit of an issue for Ethereum and for ETH, because if you've got all these transactions happening on the layer 2s, then those, that's not necessarily going to result in ETH being paid in fees, and that's going to result in less ETH being burned.
Yeah, this is true. And also technically, if you look at what proto-dank sharding does and the mechanics of, what they call these blob transactions, which is an entirely separate data availability layer that is looking to efficiently combine all of the roll-up data. This is more specifically with regards to L2s, roll-up L2s, is they can combine all that data in a blob transaction. And this is a very low data. The transaction itself doesn't require as much gas fees and everything as compared to some simple Ethereum transactions. So it makes Ethereum a lot more performant, but then the question is, how much will this impact on the fee burns, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to still continue seeing this, the fee burns we've been seeing going on, and the net deflation we've been seeing going on?
Yeah. So there is that to consider, but I still think Ethereum and its ecosystem has a huge amount to go. I think a successful Denkun upgrade, it'll mostly benefit layer 2s, but I think we will see that benefit for ETH as well. Yeah. And then, of course, we need to consider the fact that ETH has been lagging BTC quite noticeably over the last few months. This is something that we've talked about a lot, referred to the ETH BTC chart a lot. I think, I see in general that ETH has underperformed recently, especially against BTC.
And rather the alt layer ones, It's been getting faded a lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
The
ETH bashing has been
a favorite sport, But more to the in terms of the actual price and whether it can get there, I think that more than likely. For one, I think the previous all-time high was like 4,800, right? Yeah. So, it could potentially, first of all, you got to ask yourself, is that likely to reach its previous all-time high, right? If it's going to go above 4,000, I think it's quite likely. We expect, at least I expect Bitcoin to probably be above its previous all-time high next year based on all these important factors. But an interesting thing to note is that EIP 1559, which was the upgrade to the fee burns, right?
Yeah, London.
Since that time, there's been net 340,000 ETH that has been burnt, taken out of supply, right? So in terms of buying pressure in the previous bull market to get ETH to 4,800, right, was with a supply that was a lot higher. Yeah. So essentially, you're asking, could it get to a price lower than the previous all-time high with an outstanding supply, which is also lower than in the previous bull market? It naturally requires way less buying pressure. And obviously, this bull market, there's going to be a lot more capital flowing into the crypto markets because of what ETFs and the whole naturally. So I think it's pretty much inevitable in a bull market for sure.
Yeah. Assuming that the market as a whole moves in that direction. And we haven't really even mentioned Ethereum spot ETFs, which I think are not quite as inevitable as Bitcoin spot ETFs, but they will come eventually. They will come, probably next year, but let's see. Okay, let's move on. So Bernard Obigrillo, or Obgrillo, I don't know, asks, have you heard about the news that the Solana Foundation pays $100 million per month in fees to keep the lowest fee? Have you heard about this, Nick?
Yeah, I actually saw this circulating on Twitter, and I was like, what is going on here? This doesn't sound right. And it seems like the source of the rumors was a post on 4chan, which we all know is a very, very reliable source. Yeah. So I decided to actually take a bit of a deeper dive into it, and I actually posted something on the research feed in the Coin Bureau Club as well about this. But essentially what it was, and back to Token Terminal, it was a screenshot from Token Terminal which showed that the Solana, costs, right, was the 100 million plus in being paid from Solana to keep gas fees low. And that doesn't make sense because Solana is a protocol. Solana Foundation is a completely separate entity. And as Solana as a protocol, it's naturally going to have validator rewards, right? Because, it's paying validators to secure the network, right? And these validator rewards are obviously inflationary because that's what any sort of inflationary currency has, right? Yeah. If you are not staking in a network that has rewards and protocol inflation, then you are naturally going to, you're naturally going to be diluted, right? It's just a nature of how it works. Nothing's stopping anyone who's a Solana holder to stake their soul through a validator. That's how delegated proof of stake works. So to me, that's a bit disingenuous to say, oh, they're paying and they're subsidizing the fees. It's just natural protocol inflation. It's natural validator rewards. Most any other proof of stake blockchain will have this. Of course, there is the point around fee burns, but that will come as there's a lot more demand for the network now, obviously, so that 50% of the Solana transaction fees are burnt, which will bring down the supply. And if all these other upgrades that are coming to the Solana network are going to be pushed forward, like Fire Dance, all that kind of stuff, highly performant, more fees, more transactions, more burns, and then it's going to impact on the supply. But yeah, I mean, and I should also caveat that I don't hold Sol in my personal portfolio.
I do.
You do, and so I have no dog in this fight. But I think that it's important to call out, the disingenuous and disingenuous connection, or trying to look at it as if it's like the Solana Foundation paying for this, when it's just protocol inflation, right? Yeah. So you can see real time how FUD can be created with these kind of false narratives.
Yeah. And that's why 4chan didn't make it onto our list of sites for analysis.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next one?
The next one is, this is from Michael Kingwan.
Okay.
Kingwan. Thoughts on RUNE? Has it had its run? And you hold RUNE in your portfolio, right?
I do. Yeah, I bought RUNE quite recently.
Yeah, you had it previously, and then you sold, and then you bought it recently.
Yeah. And RUNE was one of those ones that I remember looking at RUNE when I think it dipped below $1, and thinking, wow, that's. Yeah. But then thinking it would go lower, and I've been kicking myself ever since. So I decided to get back into RUNE when it dipped below $6, which I believe is kind of roughly where it is at the moment. So RUNE, I think, is an incredible project. I've long been a fan of the tech and the use case, this idea of cross-chain swaps without the use of bridges or anything like that. And I think a couple of things have swayed me on RUNE recently and persuaded me to get back in again. Not just FOMO. FOMO did play a part. But there was a great Bankless discussion with the guys, and Eric Voorhees and Chad Barraford. Chad is the guy who's built ThorChain. Eric Voorhees is one of the people I respect most in crypto. He's long been a fan of ThorChain. So I listened to that discussion, and I recommend you guys do as well. It made a really good case for ThorChain and for RUNE. And then someone pointed out on Twitter, now I forget who this was, so I can't give credit where it's due, but someone pointed out that all this hype around ordinals and BRC20s, and now this I think is going to be a big narrative over the coming year, the Bitcoin ecosystem. But someone pointed out, quite rightly I think, that this is also bullish for ThorChain, because you can swap other assets easily into BTC and get into the Bitcoin ecosystem that way. And I think we will see a lot of volume from that as people rotate out of things like perhaps ETH, maybe take profits on ETH and rotate it via ThorChain into the BTC ecosystem in order to go into ordinals and BRC20s as well.
There were a lot. I also do wonder, now that you mentioned that, what happened to a lot of these other, permissionless, or not necessarily permissionless, because a bridge is never really fully permissionless if there's someone who controls it. But there were a few of these bridges in the past, like Ren BTC. Remember Ren BTC? And I just don't know what's happened to them. It seems like
Ren got nuked by. I think Ren was Alameda, or Alameda held, was a big investor.
But I mean, so they basically back in the previous bull, when especially in the DeFi space, a lot of people were using the Ren virtual machine and Ren BTC. But it was still a centralized kind of like component, because obviously the Ren team controlled the bridge. So it's interesting. But with regards to ThorChain, I'm curious to your thoughts then, because there's one reason we didn't include, and we mentioned this in our narratives piece for next year, and DeFi wasn't included, and obviously there's because of concerns and questions around regulation, right? Yeah. So if the powers that be it Liz Warren and her anti-crypto army, surely isn't permissionless DEXs, and DEXs like a ThorChain, going to be something that they're going to keep their eyes keenly peeled on? So that's one of the questions, I suppose. It's like,
there's definitely worth considering, I think, is the fact that, we're sort of not necessarily bearish on DeFi, but we do think that it is threatened by what's going on in the US at the moment. So that's definitely something to consider when it comes to RUNE, and ThorChain, I should say, because I think there is a good chance that it could get, it could find itself in the firing line. Yeah,
and also I know that there's so this is something that we're doing a report on the main channel next week, I think, with regards to the suggestions around DeFi regulation and DeFi must kind of get used to the concept of KYC permission DeFi.
Yeah.
It was also something that Van Eck put through in one of their predictions for 2024, is that people should get ready for potentially permissioned DeFi. And remember that Uniswap introduced KYC hooks, right? So there may be a situation where other DEXs, popular DEXs on Ethereum, are going to like toe the line. Are we going to go and have permissioned options for DeFi? But given how, cypherpunk the culture is at ThoughtChain with the likes of Eric Voorhees there, I don't think they're going to want to toe the line. So, it'll be interesting to see how things develop next year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something, like I said, definitely something to bear in mind when it comes to ThoughtChain. Like, it's a great product and it does a great service, but there will be people coming to poop that party.
Yeah, well, the question is, also, is it likely, what happens if there's a change of guard also, right? So it's not foregone conclusion you're going to have DeFi regulations, it's just a concern potentially.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. And this is from Token Ezev. They ask, how do lost Bitcoins benefit the future of A, the network, and B, the price? Now, this was pointed out, or I was reminded of this in a Twitter space I did last night. Aaron from Altcoin Daily posted something during the discussion. Remember that between 3 and 4 million BTC have been lost. And it was a really good thing to be reminded of, especially as we barrel towards these ETFs. Everyone talks about 21 million. It's actually not 21 million. It's, it's sort of 18 million around then, around that figure, which massively reduces the supply. So what do you make of this, Nick? How do these lost Bitcoin, maybe 3 to 4 million of them, what does that mean for the future of the network and the price of BTC?
Okay, so let's start on the latter, right? So the price, because that's the one most people associate with this. So obviously, if you have less supply of something in the future, it becomes much more of a rarer asset, right? And therefore, holding other factors equal, less supply of something with an equal or more demand, you're going to have a price increase. So it's going to become that much more valuable, that much more rare, and that much more in demand, holding other factors equal. So I think we can agree it will be price positive. And that's one of the main narratives of lost coins, is although, may they rest in peace, it's it's beneficial to the price of Bitcoin in the long run, right? Yeah. However, I will counter that when it comes to the network, potentially not so much. And that's because if you think about it, the more coins that get lost, or never accessible again, they're never going to be sent. They're never going to be a form of transaction, right? And this becomes particularly relevant when we head towards the limit, when mining block rewards go towards zero. Because remember, at that stage, they're going to have to rely on transactions, right, to remunerate the miners for securing the network. So once we get to that limit, and transaction fees are the only way for them to get remunerated, if there are not that many transactions taking place because there's not that much of supply out there to be sent to be transacted because it's been lost, does this lead to a situation where the network itself could be at risk of miners not wanting to secure it?
Yeah, I mean, which is arguably, I think, the biggest threat to Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Long term. I wonder as well. This is something that this has only really just occurred to me. But do you think Satoshi factored in at all when he or she or they set that 21 million limit? Do you think they ever considered the fact that some of those a proportion of those would be lost?
I think that they must have, right? It's pretty obvious that if there's going to be, you have to ask yourself the question, do they expect Bitcoin to become the revolutionary cryptocurrency that it is today? Did they expect it to be beyond more than just, if you read the Satoshi's white papers and you see the narrative and you see the philosophical slant behind it, I would have thought that it was something they thought could be possible. Yeah. And hence, the more people that adopt it who don't necessarily know how to manage private keys, don't necessarily know about it, they would lose their coins, they would lose their private keys, they would mix up transactions. I'm pretty certain they must have thought there will be an amount that is lost.
Yeah.
But I think that, eventually there's going to be, although a lot of people, it's not like all the coins will ever be lost. It's like the lost supply there'll be like a natural limit as to how many of the max amount of lost coins there will be. So the transaction demand will still be there for all the outstanding supply. But I mean, this is like a question that's in 100 years in the future when we hit that limit, 120 years in the future when we hit that limit. There will still be transactions taking place. But the question is, will the transactions be sizable enough in terms of fees to maintain the miners? And that's a whole other question.
Yeah.
I mean, it also is, so it's like you can't really compare apples with oranges. You don't have a situation where we have all the outstanding supply that's to be transacted. But, it's a potential risk, yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, not one of the things that keeps me up at night. No. Okay, let's move on.
All your inheritance, the people who inherit your coins, maybe, or their grandchildren, your great grandchildren, maybe.
That's their problem. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're under the wear. Yeah, this is from Talha06, and he asks Cardano 80 ADA update.
Okay. We have been discussing doing a Cardano update.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a while. I think potentially for our next altcoin review.
Okay.
I'm just speaking between the people. So if you want to see Cardano be covered, hit the likes and make your comments known.
We did do a poll, didn't we, on Twitter? Fairly recently.
Fairly recently. Yeah, like about 2-3 weeks ago or something. Yeah, asking which kind of layer one. We also did push a poll on a question about like what layer one is going to become the next EOS, and there were a lot of Cardano haters that were saying it as well, which is unfair, I think. So Cardano does get a lot of pushback on Twitter sometimes.
Yeah. It's fascinating, like how much conversation, negative and positive.
It's polarizing, such a polarizing project.
Yeah, like love it or hate it, it gets talked about a lot, Cardano, which is why we will cover it again soon. I think it's safe to say. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's a lot to talk about, as I remember off the top of my head. Yeah. Okay, Gentle Gigant asks, now this is a big one. Okay, so hold on. How not to scare away your date when talking about crypto? Is this even possible? I'm going to have to pass this to you.
No, I have a strategy for that, man.
Okay.
It's because I know I'm always going to talk about crypto. Like, it's inevitably going to come up. They're just going to mention something or anything. I'm going to always try and bring crypto into the conversation. And it's invariably going to be an hours long discussion on the comparable layer ones, how layer twos can compete with Solana. So what I basically say is, on the outset, I say, look, you're going to have to sit with me this entire day, and I'm going to talk to and tell you everything about crypto. But if you do sit through me and if you do sit through the entire day to listening to talking about crypto, then at the end, I'm going to tell you about a 100x coin, a coin that's going to 100x. And it's going to be the insane bit of alpha. So you have to stay right till the end. And I'm going to tell you just about this coin. I haven't told anyone else, typical YouTube fashion. And she's so intrigued to know what this coin is. She sits through the entire thing. And then I obviously don't, I don't give financial advice. So I'm not going to tell her about a shitcoin that's going to 100x. But by that stage, she's already been converted to being a crypto fanatic, right? And she wants to hear more and more, and she wants to... That's a good strategy, right?
Well, folks, if you were wondering why Nick is still single, there you go. Okay, let's move on. Watch out, ladies. Yeah. Okay, right. Let's end with, this is a very thought-provoking question to end on. Agustin Hosera asks, would you rather have dinner with Gary Gensler or sit through 5 hours of an Elizabeth Warren lecture?
Wow, man. I mean, that's one of those questions.
Can I opt out of both?
Wow. Is death an option?
Can I just shoot myself instead? Yeah. This is a good one. Which one are you going to go with? I think I know, but...
Well, really?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Okay. I'm going to say I would rather have dinner with Gary. Because I think, although I disagree with him on on probably virtually everything, I do think he's clearly a smart guy, even if he's got a lot of stuff wrong. And I think it would be a good opportunity to talk to him about crypto and at least try and change his mind. I don't flatter myself to think that I could change his mind. But I would love to get a sense of him and his motivations, because I think that would, that if nothing else would be interesting. I think 5 hours of an Elizabeth Warren lecture is the sort of thing that's reserved for the real sinners in the deepest pits of hell. I think Dante would have added another tier to hell exactly for that. Right. So, and also I think Elizabeth Warren just gives me the impression that, even if you did get the chance to sit down and discuss it with her, she just wouldn't listen. Gary, I think, might at least give you, the benefit of the doubt, perhaps, and might actually be open to discussing it. Elizabeth Warren, I don't think, is intelligent enough for that. So, Gary, let's do it. Dinner.
I mean,
what about you?
You've been too generous to Gary.
Maybe.
Well, I would have also chosen the Gary thing, but from a different angle. I mean, so firstly, I should preface that I don't drink, but in this particular situation, I would get blackout drunk at the dinner to be able to handle it,
That would be something to see.
So it's just, I'll do that, and he'll have to obviously pay the bill. I'll be ordering some Cristal, Dom P, all the other stuff.
Okay.
Getting completely smashed, and then. Whereas if I'm in an Elizabeth Warren lecture, what are you stuck there for 5 hours, and you just basically sitting there having to hear her talk about Pocahontas and.
I mean, death would be a kindness.
I mean, what are you going to do in that situation, right? Yeah. So there's no out. There's no assisted arc or tap out. I'd go for the Gary one, but not for the
Okay.
I'm not really keen on getting his 2 cents on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he does have interesting things to talk about. I mean, the question is, how genuine is he? Does he really care? I mean, but it is a good point that he used to be a lecturer, right?
I think that would be interesting. I would want to know from him, because he must have been. There must have been a point where he was genuinely fascinated by blockchain and Bitcoin, and wanted to learn more, and obviously taught this course at MIT, which is actually a good course. He understands it. He and this is why so many of us had kind of high hopes for him when he took over at the SEC. There was a lot of hope that he would be the man for the job, and that's just adds to the disappointment. But I'd love to know from him, if there was a moment that changed his mind. What made him go to the dark side?
I don't know if it's necessarily gone to the dark. I think it's a lot. He's got high aspirations, right? There was talk he's always wanted to be able to get potentially next Treasury Secretary, right? And he wants to be able to show he's taking action against all these dark corners of finance potentially. I mean, I think that crypto is necessarily potentially an easy punching bag, and he's decided to come in to take battle with us. Even though, I'm sure he understands the benefit of the technology. I'm sure he understands why blockchain technology is such an important transformative thing. He's taught it. He's lectured about it at MIT. So I think it's just more his aspirations and trying to appear tough. So in a he probably genuinely does value it. But I think that until he doesn't have those aspirations of being the next Janet Yellen Treasury Secretary, or he's going to continue stonewalling. Doesn't matter how many dinners you have with him, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to open up to you, man, unless you try to get him drunk.
Gary, have some more Dom Perignon. The SEC's paying.
Yeah.
I think we'd probably just go to McDonald's. I wouldn't lavish the money on Gary. Well, it would be interesting to get a sense of his motivations, if nothing else.
Sure.
Okay, so sorry to disappoint you, Elizabeth Warren, but
no one wants to be in that lecture, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be the world's emptiest lecture.
Yeah, no one wants to know. Literally no one. Okay, that's it for today. Nick, thank you for joining me.
Always good.
Yeah, what a year it's been.
Damn.
Last of 2023. So. Thank you guys for watching. We are going to be back, obviously, next year in 2024. There's tons of stuff coming from Coin Bureau. There's so much that we're talking about, discussing at the moment.
So much to work on, so much coming in. The bull market's going to be crazy. I just can't wait, man.
Yeah, me neither. So, looking forward to seeing you guys in 2024. Please keep your questions coming in. Nick will be back soon. Yeah. Jessica will be back soon. Maybe we'll get the twins to do the next one. So thanks for watching, and see you again soon.
Blessed New Year, guys.
Happy
Cheers,
New Year.
man.